Welcome to the Atlantic Perspectives podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the White House in Europe with Maxime Lobé. During the first season of the podcast, we focused on the Founding Fathers' presidents. We left America under the presidency of James Monroe, a confident America, strengthened by the War of 1812, and now capable of stating a clear doctrine toward the Old World. The Western Hemisphere is no longer a playground for European powers. The Monroe Doctrine established a simple and lasting principle. Europe stays in Europe. America takes care of America. But behind this doctrine, one man played a decisive role. A trained diplomat, a man deeply experienced in Europe, a brilliant, austere mind, firmly convinced that the strength of the US does not lie in conquest, but in example. That man becomes president in 1825. His name, John Quincy Adams. March 1825, Washington, D.C. John Quincy Adams takes the oath of office in a tense political climate. No candidate wins a majority in the Electoral College. The House of Representatives has to decide the election. The result immediately triggers accusations of a corrupt bargain. His rival, Andrew Jackson, presents himself as the defender of the people against the elites of the East Coast. Adams embodies exactly what Jackson denounces: an educated, multilingual, career diplomat and the son of a president. From the very beginning, his domestic authority is fragile, but internationally, his experience is unmatched. John Quincy Adams is probably the American president most deeply shaped by Europe in his education and upbringing. At a very young age, he's already with his father, John Adams, on diplomatic missions to Paris, Amsterdam, and London. He speaks several European languages and understands the inner workings of Europe's chancelleries. Before reaching the presidency, he serves as ambassador to the Netherlands, Prussia, Russia, and the United Kingdom. He negotiates the Treaty of Ghent in 1814. He then becomes Secretary of State under James Monroe. It is in this position that he plays a decisive role in shaping the Monroe Doctrine in 1823. Adams does not romanticize Europe. He analyzes it. He admires its culture and historical depths. But he also observes it, how it operates: balance of power politics, shifting alliances, and military interventions designed to preserve monarchical order. For him, Europe represents a political countermodel. Where European power thinks in terms of power relationships, he believes the US should base its foreign policy on principles and restraint. Adams' approach toward European liberal movement is defined even before he becomes president, while he is serving as Secretary of State. On July 4, 1821, he declares, "America does not go abroad in search of monsters to destroy." This phrase is not isolated. It becomes the intellectual foundation of the Monroe Doctrine proclaimed in December 1823. The Monroe Doctrine rests on two complementary principles. First, European powers must no longer expand their political system into the Western Hemisphere, nor establish new colonies. Second, in return, the United States refrains from intervening in Europe's wars and internal affairs. American non-intervention in Europe therefore becomes the direct counterpart to demand for European non-interference in the Americas. Three examples clearly illustrate this doctrine in practice. The first is Greece in 1821. When the Greek War of Independence breaks out in 1821, Adams is Secretary of State. The Monroe administration shows cautious sympathy for the Greek cause, but Adams makes sure that this sympathy does not lead to official diplomatic recognition or military intervention or coordination with the European powers. When the United Kingdom, France, and Russia intervene at Navarino in 1827, Adams is by then president. He maintains the same line: no American involvement, the continuity is complete. The second example is Spain, between 1820 and 1823. The Spanish Liberal Revolution of 1820 and the French intervention of 1823 both take place while Adams is Secretary of State. The US does not officially protest the French intervention aimed at restoring absolutism. For Adams, Spain's constitutional evolution belongs to the European system. What concerns him more is the possibility that European powers might take advantage of the situation to restore their domination over Latin America, a concern that directly contributes to the Monroe Doctrine. The final example is Italy, from 1820 to 1821. The constitutional uprising in Naples and Piedmont also take place while Adams is Secretary of State. Austria intervenes with the support of the conservative powers of the Holy Alliance. The United States issues no significant protest. Adams considers these events to belong exclusively to the European system. I would like to briefly return to the concept of Europe. After the fall of Napoleon, the great powers meet at the Congress of Vienna in order to redraw the map of Europe and establish a system of stability based on balance and power and regular consultations among monarchies. This concert of Europe then operates through a series of diplomatic congresses designed to coordinate interventions against revolutionary movements. Adams categorically rejects any integration of the US into this mechanism. In Adams' logic, joining such a system means accepting its military balances, its rivalries, and ultimately, its wars. Once he becomes president in 1825, Adams does not change this line. He does not transform America's European policy. He consolidates the separation that he himself helped define. The distinction remains clear. European affairs, non-intervention. Western Hemisphere, vigilance and firmness. But in 1828, Adams is defeated by Andrew Jackson. Under Jackson, America will adopt a more populist and more expansionist political style. Adams leaves the presidency convinced that he has established a lasting boundary between the US and the European system. John Quincy Adams did not transform the transatlantic relationship through spectacular gestures. He defined its structural limits. He established a strategic separation between two distinct political worlds. America will not become a transplanted European power. It will remain a distinct power. In the next episode, we will see how Andrew Jackson embodied another way of exercising power, more direct, more populist, and how this, in turn, reshaped America's relationship with Europe. This was The White House and Europe with Maxime Lobé. Subscribe so you do not miss any episode. You can find Atlantic Perspective on social media and on its website, atlanticperspectives.org. Music licensed via Epidemic Sound.